You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to the middle of the week. You know what that is? That's hump day. That means we start off with our friend, the camel.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Whoop, whoop. Yes, it is. All right, you are halfway to the weekend. We are glad of it. Pouring down rain outside the Rightside studios right now, but nonetheless, we got a great weekend coming for you, and we'll get you all the way to go home time on a Friday here at Rightside and pushing buttons on the board. That'd be JP. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm getting through the rainy day.
Has it made you melancholy?
Yeah, I need my sunlight. I'm like a plant, I guess.
I know. I used to say we were all solar powered rangers.
Yeah,
we do better in the sun.
Yeah.
All right, hey, we got a great show laid on for you. It's 4:00. You know what that means? Aside from playing the camel at the beginning of the show, at 4:00 we have the Grand Council with my friends Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson. We'll get them on the line and ping each other with questions and just see where the chips fall. But yeah, the Grand Council with Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson at 4:00. And then I've got a triple dipper just filled up with stuff. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. First out the gate, the border battles. Wow, man. So much is happening on our southern border. So much in 3 weeks is happening on our southern border. It's amazing what has been done to stem the tide of illegal immigration. I'll tell you all about it, plus some of the latest, and then I'll also give you some insights that, we're finding stuff out too. Border battles is number 1 on the Triple Dipper. Number 2, waste, fraud, and abuse, man. That's what I'm calling it, waste, fraud, and abuse. Number 2 is about all the things that Doge is finding out. It's about the things that we're uncovering just by being, the new sheriff in town. It's about yesterday's presser with Elon Musk in the Oval Office and how it's freaking out the liberals. Why? Well, I don't know. Maybe they're just scared their name's going to be attached to some of that waste, fraud, and abuse. So that's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, it's not Adventures in Woke World. It's close, but it's more like the fights we're having over wokeness. So I'm calling number 3 the woke wars. That's right, the woke wars. We're going to talk about some of the actual efforts right now to reclaim our society from wokeness. The woke wars is number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, let me jump on into the Rightside Way opening monologue. And I'll remind you guys that attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, he is the sponsor daily of the Rightside Way. And I'll tell you more about him in just a minute. So there's an old dirge by Scottish poet Robert Burns. It was written in the late 1700s. It's called Man Was Made to Mourn. Now, I'm not an avid reader of poetry by any stretch, but there's a line in that one that has stood out to me, locked in my memory for years. In the last 2 stanzas, Burns wrote, "Man's inhumanity to man makes countless thousands mourn." There's some cheerful reading, right? Man's inhumanity to man. I mean, what a phrase. Apparently, I'm not the only one, though, that's had that one line stuck in my mind. It's been used over the past 200 plus years to describe everything from wars and prejudice and acts of violence. It was used to describe the details of the Holocaust. Martin Luther King Jr., he actually quoted it 6 times in his autobiography. I would say yes to all the above. Those all qualify as man's inhumanity to man. But I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to suggest that man's inhumanity to man can also be found in the way that liberals claim to be doing things to their fellow man, like how they're doing all the good stuff, but it's really, if you get down to it, doing nothing but hurting people. I was sparked to do this monologue today by something that happened just last night. Did you see what occurred at the White House? I hope you did, President Trump and the Speaker of the House and a number of other government officials, they stood out in the freezing weather and they greeted a guy named Mark Fogel, an American citizen who had been imprisoned in Russia since 2021. He landed back in the U.S. on Tuesday. Fogel, a history teacher who was working at the Anglo-American school in Moscow, he returned to the U.S. after his release from Russia following talks with the Trump administration. He was serving a 14-year sentence, y'all. A 14-year sentence after his arrest in August 2021 at a Russian airport, allegedly for possession of drugs, which his family said may have been nothing more than medically prescribed marijuana. I mean, think about what just happened. The Biden administration rushed to trade a man named Victor Bout for LGBT activist and athlete Brittany Griner. Remember her? Brittany Griner. Victor Bout was a notorious arms trafficker. His nickname was the Merchant of Death. 6 months after his release, the Wall Street Journal reported that Victor Bout signed a huge deal to sell arms to the Houthi rebels. The same Houthis that are proxies of Iran and shoot missiles at U.S. ships off the coast of Yemen. Biden made sure that Brittany Griner came home, but he left Mark Fogel to rot in his Russian cell and made no effort. But Trump met Mark Fogel's 96-year-old mother in Butler, Pennsylvania, the same day that he was shot during the campaign season. And y'all, despite the fact that he survived an assassination attempt that day and others died around him, he did not forget that he had promised a sweet little lady that if he was elected, he would get Mark Fogel, her son, home. And he did it in 3 weeks. We're watching the restoration of humanity, in my opinion. We're watching an administration that actually places value on life again. We're watching as leaders will stand in the cold and the dark of night like Trump did just to greet one man who deserved better than the inhumanity he had been suffering. To my knowledge, there have been no liberal politicians who have spoken up today about greeting Mark Fogel or welcoming him home. But I'm thankful that he's home, and I'm thankful to have an administration that is willing to remember the little guy and to place value on life and to remember promises made. An administration that appears to understand what it really means to act humanely. But y'all, liberals, they just don't get it. They think they're the humane ones. I mean, look around at the actual results of liberal progressive policies. With an air of superiority and the claim to know what's best, progressives will amend the laws of nature itself. They'll bend the will of millions. They'll tap into the finite resources of taxpayers and enact bold, sweeping policies that do nothing but crush the souls of their fellow mankind. Well, I know that sounded lofty, but let me break it down for you. Let's look at several examples of do-gooder, liberal, progressive inhumanity. We could start in San Francisco. The city by the bay, the Golden Gate. It's a beautiful place, and it's hemorrhaging right now. I mean, business upon business is shuttering its doors and leaving the downtown area where over 38,000 people live in homeless encampments all along the sidewalks, under the bridges, right in the doorways of office buildings and restaurants. Over $3 billion has been spent over the last 6 or 7 years to combat the problem, but numbers keep increasing. Why? Well, San Francisco doles out an average of $687 per month to homeless individuals in its city limits with no expectations or strings attached, just paying them to be homeless. I mean, fully sanctioned open-air drug markets are allowed in an effort to provide a safe place to shoot up. And the city council decries the notion that increased police protection for the hundreds of small businesses that signed a petition begging for safe streets is just what they can't do that. They can't do it. So crime has escalated in San Francisco, while 2,000 overdose deaths have been recorded in the past several years. But yet, if you ask the liberal policymakers, the same ones who put these policies in place, they'll tell you they're just doing everything they can to help, and yet their help creates inhumane results. All right, there's one example. How about this one? Man's inhumanity to man can also be found in the transgender movement. I mean it. Look at it from the outside and tell me it makes good sense to tell a child they were born wrong. An otherwise beautiful child who is made to question his or her very identity because of the misguided, non-scientific notion that somehow gender can be swapped out like tires in a NASCAR pit. So the 5-year-old, who doesn't know what sex is, nor should they, is told that because he's shy and doesn't like to roughhouse, that maybe he's not really a he. He isn't right. He was born wrong. He needs to be fixed so that he can be a she and then be happy. Oh, so truly happy. So the 5-year-old is given medications, subjected to the stares of his peers because his mom decides to send him to school wearing girls' clothes. And otherwise grown and surely mature adults insist on not calling him by his dead name anymore. Dead name. Dead name. Because the adults have now killed off the child's identity. And the medications start having their effect, but it's just not enough. Don't you want surgery, they ask? And the adults look at the child, the adults who would never think about emasculating themselves, and they tell the child to trust them. They'll get the fix done right. They will surgically alter the child for the rest of his life and then pat him on the back and say, "There, we fixed you." And the rest of his life, that young boy will be a eunuch. And he'll have to take medications for the rest of his life. But the progressives will say that they've done the child a great service. They'll say they treated him humanely. All right, how about another one? As long as I'm depressing you. What about instilling a sense of responsibility in others? Isn't that what we're taught as kids? Take responsibility, own your mistakes, face your issues, overcome your obstacles. Until liberal progressives decide that doing anything hard or building a business or saving up to buy a thing you've always wanted or working hard to be the first in your family to go to college, that somehow those things are not right. Those are inequities. Inequities? Inequities. No one should be required to be responsible for their own lives. So they intervene in the lives of young students who, for instance, signed up on the dotted line to take out a loan to go to college. Here now, they say, let's take that burden off of you and void that loan so you can complete your schooling without the ignominy of debt. And poof, the debt goes away. And all of a sudden, the young skull full of mush learns if you just sit around and wait, maybe even complain a little bit, the government pays for everything. And when that underwater basket weaving degree they got from the liberal arts school didn't pan out, the liberals just pat them on the head and send them more money. I mean, they could probably sign up for some form of long-term government assistance and get more free money. And if they push a little bit, they could probably get their whole family some extra money because it's all free, right? Meanwhile, the kid who was raised in the same community who works hard to learn how to be a journeyman pipe fitter and gets his plumbing license and borrows thousands of dollars to outfit his new business with tools, no one offers to pay off his loan. And he works hard so that a part of his income can help to pay for the ones who chose not to work. And the liberal progressives feel good. They've been helping people, helping them become dependent, doing the liberal work to benefit humanity humanely, right? One more. I could go on, I guess. We could use the same analogy, like a man's inhumanity to man, to describe the lack of border policies that entice people to die on their way to free crossings into America. We could also, I guess, add one more to that. We could talk about the lack of effort to deal with the fentanyl crisis because we don't want to upset China. We could talk about the refusal of so many in positions of leadership to make meaningful change in the way we do schooling, thereby relegating kids to a poor education just because of their zip code. Look, I'm not trying to be dark today. I'm really not. In all honesty, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. But I have noticed over and over and over again that the worst aspects of our society are usually couched in some liberal ideology that at its very root is touted as some way of doing something humane. Something that helps people have their space, that helps them to be free. Free? Free from what? There's no freedom in the ruination of lives, no matter how much lipstick you put on it. Man's inhumanity to man. Liberal progressives have that down to an art. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, if you look at it, liberal policies are always touted as being the humane thing. And if you get right down to it, they actually ruin lives over and over and over again, and then talk about what good things they did. It's actually right down to the very core of who we are as a people. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. Hey, I told you a minute ago that they monologue every single day, the Right Side Way monologue, brought to you by attorney Stan McDonald. So Stan McDonald, he's a partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. Y'all, he's been practicing law for 30 years, right here in North Alabama. Stan is not only the kind of guy who will advocate for your legal needs and do so quite well, but I can tell you right now for a fact, I know it for a fact, he's been an absolute warrior on what I would call the conservative policy and political issues that right-side ruffians care about. So listen, attorney Stan McDonald, he has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He knows how to represent you in every local, state, or federal court. And I like to say, when Stan McDonald is on your side, you will have no greater friend. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So I'm going to give you his number here so you can call him if you want to. If you need a lawyer in North Alabama, you might want to call Stan. Attorney Stan McDonald at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man, and here's his phone number, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. And tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. And here's that thing I got to do. No representation made. The quality legal source be formed with great quality legal source for the lawyers. Or something like that. Text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Text it or call it. I got a call on line one, Bruce from Springville. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Oh, and here, I'm down here enjoying the liquid sunshine.
Oh, man, yeah. It's just coming down rain right now, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is. Well, first thing I want to start, I appreciate the service you did to the country and being a ranger.
Well,
okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And this is definitely going to pertain to monologue because, everyone has a purpose. God gives everyone a plan, a purpose. And I tell you what, I got a question for you. Okay. What was your greatest accomplishment that you did in being a ranger?
Probably just getting through Ranger School. How about that?
Getting through Ranger School, yeah. And, you probably had a lot more accomplishments from doing that, too. And the reason being is because you used your initiative and got to do what your plan set out to be. And you know what? The same thing for me. My greatest accomplishment, I got to save 4 lives one time when I was in the U.S. Navy.
There you go.
So,
wow.
Yeah, that was my greatest. Everybody that goes in the military, I encourage them to go in the military because, one, it can make them grow up real quick, and two, they're going to accomplish something if they put their mind and their heart to it.
Well,
because I'll do something. I'm getting tired of paying the government to wipe little woke honeys.
Well, Bruce, I appreciate you, man, and thank you for your service. And the music's about to play, so I got to go. But thanks for the call, man, and thank you for your time in the Navy. And I'm sure there's 4 people that are glad you were in the Navy, too. So appreciate you, man. Yep, there's the music. All right, listen, text lines, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Man, covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show goes from Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. From Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. There's even all the way down to that prettiest little town on the plains, Auburn, Alabama. And there's even big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi thrown in, just for good measure. Why not? All right, listen, text lines are open. Got a few of you already texting already. Come on, people. Let's get some text going here. Red from Tony, Alabama. What'd you send me, Red? I don't know what you sent me, Red. Why am I looking at this?
Apparently there's a searches for criminal defense attorneys are surging in D.C. That's what the graph says.
I scrolled down. Now I see it. He said the graphic. Yeah, okay, I see it. Online searches for criminal defense attorneys through the roof in D.C. I'd love to know if this is real. Very funny. Yeah. Who let the Doge out, right? Jeff from Indiana says, Phil, we can designate China, Russia, and Iran as enemies of the United States. When are we going to designate liberals and Democrats as enemies of the United States? Because all three of those countries put together haven't done and are not capable of doing nearly as much damage as liberalism has done to the United States. I would not disagree with that, man. That's interesting. Tony from Trinity says, shout out from Trinity, watching the live stream. Tony, thumbs up in the live stream for you. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. A lot of folks been using the live stream lately, and we're glad of it. So, yeah, tell your friends, tell your family. All y'all, check out the live stream once in a while. It's on YouTube. It's on our website, rightsidemedia.org. It's on Twitter. It's on Facebook. It's all over the place. John from Huntsville. By the way, John, I forgot to read the grades last night, or I didn't get to them, and I apologize. John from Huntsville says, Phil, in fact, magnificent monologue. Also, did you see that the Apple and Google Maps have officially changed the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America? I did. And Democrats are outraged. By the way, JP says, I don't know if you saw the text I left you yesterday regarding my score predictions for last night's Alabama game. Anyway.
I did, and I think he just didn't want me to say that he predicted a Texas win. And he was wrong by a lot.
Wrong by a whole lot?
It wasn't even, I think the final score was 102-80. Alabama won. Yeah, was a beatdown. Nice. So hook 'em horns, hook nothing, huh? Nope. And now we got the IBOB is next for both teams.
IBOB.
Both Bama and Auburn handled business yesterday.
For those who don't know, JP has taught me a new round of terminology in the sporting arenas. The IBOB, the Iron Bowl of basketball.
Yep.
I just like saying it.
Yeah, I know. It's great. The first 1-2 matchup in SEC history this weekend for basketball. So it's going to be pretty epic.
It's not just SEC, it's Auburn, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So it's the IBOB. Okay. What time and when?
3:00 Saturday.
We got grandkids, but I'm pretty sure grandson number one is going to want to watch that with me.
I bet he would. Yeah.
He loves Auburn basketball.
Yeah.
He plays basketball now.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be a future Auburn basketball player.
That's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Actually, he wants to play football, but he clarified the other day he'd like for it to be flag football. He's all of 5 years old. He's got plenty of time to figure it out. All right, coming up here on the show, I got plenty of stuff for you, not the least of which are the border battles that we're in right now. Y'all, the border, the southern border, it is absolutely still, in my opinion, one of the biggest topics. And we're going to cover it in great detail today. There's been a lot of things that came out just in recent days, things that are happening on your behalf. But I will tell you, too, first of all, there has been some breaking news on other topics, and I got to point this out for you. Apparently, Tulsi Gabbard was just confirmed right before the show as the new Director of National Intelligence. So that happened, and keep in mind, she was one of the ones they said might not make it. Tulsi Gabbard, now confirmed, Director of National Intelligence for the United States. And, oh, by the way, RFK Jr. just passed over one of the procedural hurdles so that he can very likely be confirmed soon, as early as tonight or tomorrow, I believe, as the next Secretary of Health and Human Services. The one that I don't know where it is Kash Patel. Where's that hearing? Do we know?
I think I saw yesterday they delayed it until next week again.
They're probably getting Tulsi and RFK out of the way first. They'll get those out of the way and then let what is now probably going to be the most controversial confirmation vote take place on Kash.
Which, by the way, any guess on who the one no was for Tulsi from the Republican side?
Yeah, I know who it was. I'll guess. Well, I didn't promise you a Republican supermajority.
As he got wheeled out of the Senate chambers.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell votes no. Unbelievable. I'm assuming, though, Bernie also voted no on her.
Yeah, even though Tulsi endorsed him for president. It's funny how...
Which is interesting because here we are extolling the virtues of Tulsi voting for or endorsing him for president. We wouldn't want anything to be done in favor of Bernie Sanders. All right. I got a phone call. Let me get that real quick before I go to the break. Wolverine Dan. Hey, buddy. How are you?
Well, on a cold, rainy day, I think what I did was correct. I made a big pot of vegetable beef soup.
Nice.
So
perfect.
Yeah. Now that I'm retired, I've always cooked anyway, but I like to take care of Mama. She's another day from now, we'll be 38 years of marriage. So
that's great, man. We're in 38 right now ourselves.
Well, there you go. You did the right thing. You know what? I married my wife because I met her mom first, and I said, "Oh my! If this woman is anything like her mother." My mother, God rest her soul, she was the sweetest, kindest lady. A good Christian woman, never had a bad word to say to nobody, and she'd give you the shirt off her back.
Yeah, about that. That's good stuff.
With that said, speaking of, hopefully they'll take the shirt off their back. These representatives in this country will hopefully sacrifice a little bit, and I'm hoping the Social Security thing that he mentioned, President Trump, about not being taxed, I'm hoping that goes through. Seems to me he's got the Gulf of America already taken care of, and he's got his cabinet going through. No taxes on tips. Hopefully it has not gone through yet. But I can't see a congressperson not supporting the fact that he wants Social Security not to be taxed. That would be that'd be a death sentence for a politician. They'd probably be voted out in the next election. Wouldn't you agree?
You'd think so, but what they'll do is they'll hide behind procedural votes. They'll hide behind scare tactics that he's trying to gerrymander Social Security. They'll find some way of saying that it's something they're not, because the liberals are in a bad position here. They can't touch the third rail of politics, which is Social Security, but they're also all about needing more money. So, because they always need more money. Liberals always want more money. So they're in a tough spot.
They're in a very tough spot, and and the thing is, we got to stop spending the money. We all know that, and that's why President Trump was elected. But boy, I mean, as a guy that's on Social Security, as many of us in this country are, that would be awfully nice. That's a pretty good amount of money. That would be at least a couple of weeks' groceries right there.
Oh, easily. I mean, it means something. It absolutely means something. And so,
and if people live, I'm fortunate to have a pension. I work for the government, just like you served in the government, and you also served legislatively. And we're fortunate, very grateful to have a pension. It's unbelievably, I'm very happy I have one. But there's people, all they have is Social Security. So if they gave them a tax break and not tax it, that's a big thing for a person that only has Social Security.
I don't disagree, man. And I'll tell you, there's other things I like that he's trying to do, like trying not to tax your tip earnings. If you're a waitress making tips, you're probably getting paid below minimum wage, so you're allowed to have tips. And wouldn't it be nice if those were tax free? That'd be a huge boost.
In my closing, before I hang up, and you mentioned tips, and you guys could do this if you want to. Okay. A lot of times I'll pay for everything with my credit card just for the fact I get miles, frequent flyer miles. A lot of us do this. But you know what? Instead of putting the tip on your card when the person serves you, we give them cash. And for me to give them cash, I usually say to them, well, screw the government. You keep your money. They take enough as it is. That's what I tell them.
That's a tip. And, oh, by the way, a tip which qualifies as advice.
There you go.
All right, man. Thanks, man. See you, Wolverine Dan. Hey, I'm going to jump on into my first topic, the border battles. Now, let me tell you something. I had a piece that I had put together earlier in the week. I didn't get to it. So I'm going to fold a little bit of it into this topic, and I even added a whole lot more to it. The border battles. What are we seeing right now? What are we seeing in an effort to lay claim to our own borders? Which, you look at it. Why are we having to lay claim to our own borders? I don't know. Why are we having to pass laws to define what a woman is? I mean, for the crying out loud, we're literally having to bring back what Donald Trump rightfully called the era of common sense. If you don't have a border, then do you really have a country? Because geographically, you're no longer sound. You're no longer able to show the precise realm of your existence. You're no longer to say, here's where our laws begin and end. So a lot has been happening in regards to the border battles. It was one of the biggest issues throughout the entire election season. It went back and forth between number one and number two with the economy. Any number of things have happened negatively to the communities all over this nation. We are all border states. One of the dynamics that we saw most recently was the amount of money that has been spent on illegal aliens in communities, in states, all over our nation. And then there's maddening things, like you've heard all about DOGE. You've heard all about Trump trying to put freezes on expenditures before they go out, before the check is written, basically. He wants to have a chance to review it and know that it is in compliance with existing law. And oh, by the way, can he stop it if he has to? The other day, if you didn't see this, and I'll just opine about this one for a minute. The other day, if you didn't see this, one of the FEMA bureaucrats, the CFO, I don't recall her name right now, it doesn't matter. She's no longer the CFO, let's put it that way. But the CFO of FEMA decided that despite the fact that she had been told not to send out any checks, well, she wasn't going to do that. She was going to send $59 million to New York City, in part to fund the Roosevelt Hotel, which used to be a beautiful sort of boutique hotel. That hotel, by the way, is now owned by the nation of Pakistan. I kid you not. The Roosevelt Hotel in New York City, owned by Pakistan, has become a contract lodging for illegal aliens, right in the heart of downtown. The Roosevelt Hotel, super funded by money from government, and the CFO defied Trump's orders, sent $59 million to New York City anyway. Breaking news for you, the border battles, Secretary Kristi Noem just published a few minutes ago on her Twitter feed. She says this: I have clawed back the full payment that FEMA deep state activists unilaterally gave to New York City migrant hotels. She says FEMA was funding the Roosevelt Hotel that serves as a Tren de Aragua base of operations and was actually used to house Laken Riley's killer. Mark my words, Secretary Noem said, there will not be a single penny spent that goes against the interests and safety of the American people. That, my friends, is a whole new day. We fired the CFO. We got the money back. Sometime very soon, I suspect the nation of Pakistan is going to have to flush out the rooms, say, I'm sorry for you, but we got to start renting this place out to real people. And oh, by the way, they're probably going to have to do a bit of cleanup first. Just saying. All right, we're taking a break. I'll take the break and I'll come right back. And let me put a phrase in your mind as we go to the break. The immigration industrial complex. What? Yes. What you just heard about with the Roosevelt Hotel is just one example of what some are calling the immigration industrial complex. I'll tell you all about it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just, I mean, like, man, making common sense like a superpower. All right, so let me lay something on you. In the border battles, part of what's happening is not just the, putting up barbed wire, not just activating, the military and giving, states the autonomy to make arrests. It's more than that. That's almost like I would say like the givens. Those are going to happen. That's part of it. We're going to actually have a physical barrier border. How awesome is that? However, what we've also been unwinding over the last 3 weeks, and I mean like unwinding it over the last 3 weeks, is what some are now referring to as the immigration industrial complex. Basically, there's an entire cottage industry out there of people that make a killing off of illegal immigration. And I don't mean the coyotes. I don't mean the cartels. I don't mean the people that that are just running across the border and then going back for the next shipment of drug. I'm talking about actual people who, with the assistance of government, have been making it more difficult for us to control our own borders. What? Yes. So I got a story here for the Daily Signal. It's really well done. A guy named Tyler O'Neill wrote this. He starts off by saying, did you know your tax dollars have been propping up a system of nonprofit organizations that house and transport illegal aliens all across the country? Donald Trump has now paused some of those programs that propped up the system. Here's a couple of maddening pieces. There's two particular organizations. There's HIAS, H-I-A-S, that stands for Hebrew Immigrant Aid Services. And there's Church World Service. These are two allegedly faith-based nonprofits. They're official 501c3 nonprofits. And they get massive federal grants. Massive. Y'all, here's the thing. Let me tell you some things that have happened, just so you'll know. First of all, we are making a difference right now. The Trump administration is. But this industrial complex, this immigration industrial complex, has been impeding progress for years. So a lawsuit was just filed Monday, just like 2 days ago, aiming to block President Trump's order that paused all payments to these NGOs under what's known as the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program. Think about this. I am describing to you the functions of government to give away your tax dollars. It's not just government turning a blind eye and not doing a good job to stop people coming across the border. It's government paying people to make it harder to control the border. I'm going to go one step further. I had heard before that Alejandro Mayorkas was an open borders guy. And I don't mean like we could see it in his policies when he became, Secretary of Homeland Security. I mean, Alejandro Mayorkas was actually on the record as being an open borders guy. I just named those two organizations, right? HIAS and the other one. HIAS received 33% of its total revenues in 2021 from the State Department and the Department of Health and Human Services. That's $51 million in assets, I believe. The other one, Church World Service, they got $20.5 million in government grants. So look at the tens of millions of dollars flooding into them, and then look at this. Alejandro Mayorkas, he was the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security under the Obama-Biden regime. Trump took office. Where did he go before he came back? He was on the board of HIAS. Are you catching that? He was on the board of the same organization that when he took office as secretary, he made sure they got tens of millions of dollars to help illegal immigrants get across the border and then be transported around the nation. Mayorkas even listed groups like HIAS as part of his border security plan. In that plan, which was known as Border Security Pillar 4, he talked about bolstering, this is the quote, bolstering the capacity of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, to receive non-citizens after being processed through by Customs and Border Protection. In other words, hey, we'll get them in. We'll leave the door open. When they get here, we'll just pass them right through. Hey, HIAS, here's some money. Take over. I have to ask this question. In the lawsuit, they admit that they lost all their revenues. If they relied on government for their money, then were they really a non-governmental organization? I'm going to say no. That whole thing pisses me off. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Right Side Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Right Side Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Right Side studios, man. I got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. I just, you know what I just did? I just forgot Tennessee. How did
noticed.
I do that?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I noticed.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader. It's still new to me.
Yeah,
I'm still getting it in my head. We love being up in Chattanooga, by the way. Glad to be there up on WGOW out of Chattanooga. Good stuff.
Maybe we can knock the liberalness out of that city.
Whoop, whoop. They need some knocking right now. Listen, I don't know what's going on with that pastor calling for violence. It's just like, how are you a pastor and that's your gig, man? Is he like the Reverend Jesse Jackson or the Reverend Al Sharpton? Or is he one of those? Or do you have a church?
I think he has a church from what I saw. It's disappointing.
Yeah, I'd like to know which Bible he's reading. Okay. Hey, before the break, it's almost like this story got so under my skin. I found the story, it ticked me off, then I brought it up, then I talked about it on the air, and something about talking about it out loud made it even worse. JP, did you catch the part that I said about Alejandro Mayorkas being a member of the board of this same NGO that then got tons of money once he became the Secretary of Homeland Security?
So basically incentivize the HH or the Homeland Security Secretary to have open borders. It's disgusting. But also when you said that, I was thinking about, I don't know if you saw yesterday, Elon and Trump's little press thing in the Oval Office, and they were hammering him about potential conflicts of interest. If he's shutting down parts of the government that would profit his businesses, and it's just so hypocritical because the people that they're supporting are doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And his response to it was, well, if I'm an open book, he goes, if you see any, please let me know and I'll get rid of it. You know, it's just, it's projecting from the left when they're saying stuff like that because their own people are doing exactly that.
Just exactly that. And then I asked that question too, and I think it's a fair question. If they relied so heavily on the government for their funding, then were they really a non-governmental organization to begin with?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They're just an arm of the government at that point.
They're just a government agency.
That's exactly right. Unbelievable. Listen, I'm talking about the immigration industrial complex. I'm talking about the border battles. So here's another story. I'm going to take this down from different angles here right now, all right? A lot's going on in the southern border area. A lot's going on the issue of illegal immigration. And by the way, it has really dramatically changed. Here's some numbers for you. You'll like this. I got this piece off of Fox. Since Trump got in the White House, only 3 weeks ago. Has it been 3 weeks? It feels like it's been like 6 months. Since Trump's return to the White House, border crossings have plummeted. There were an average of 7,287 migrant encounters at the southern border in the first 7 days after Trump's inauguration by both Border Patrol between ports of entry, with a daily average of 1,041 encounters a day. That compares, though, to 20,000 encounters in the final 7 days of Biden. So, good Lord. They have literally cut it just massively down to the point that it's probably almost boring. Isn't that amazing? When's the last time the CBP guys were bored on the southern border? But yeah, how crazy cool is that? You're seeing 7,000-ish migrant encounters in the first 7 days of Trump, but you saw 20,000 in the last 7 days of Biden. Wow, wow, oh wow. Now, in the middle of all that, one of the things that they're looking at right now is tunnels. All right, so it's not just wading across the Rio Grande. It's not just climbing over the hills or taking a boat around the seawall into San Diego. It's not. We have major tunnel complexes. I think people know that, but I don't think you know to the extent. Like, for instance, I've got a story here from Fox that points out that DEA agents talk about the fact that they've got tunnel crossings that are filled with rails and cart systems. They're air conditioned. They've got, sometimes they have offices in them. They have underground storage lockers and weapons locker rooms. They've got one tunnel they found was 800 yards long from a warehouse in Tijuana to a building in San Diego. And they call the receiving buildings, where'd it go? Called them cover-ups. They look for what they call the cover-ups. And one of the things they're looking at right now is, can we post reward money for people who will let us know there's a cover-up building that needs to be addressed? And then DEA says they go in there and they blow them up. They don't play. They don't go in there and find them and try to secure them and take care of things. No, they go in there and they blow them up, destroy them. And they should. But y'all, that's tunnel complexes coming underneath your southern border.
So the cartel is the ones orchestrating these tunnels, right? We could assume safely.
Yes.
So that just adds another attribute of a terrorist organization, because you look at, Hamas and other terrorist places like that. I mean, they do exactly that, and they have tunnels. So even though the cartels may not be, doing October 7th type stuff across our border, I feel like they're very much a terrorist organization if they're doing stuff like that.
They're very much a terrorist organization. Very much so. Here's the other thing that's happening. Border battles. Tom Homan is, of course, conducting raids around the country, right? Tom Homan is helping orchestrate raids around the country, put it that way. ICE agents, Customs and Border Patrol agents, FBI. We had 2 roundups in Alabama yesterday, I think it was, in both Lee County and Baldwin County. It's happening all over the place. More than once, though, somebody has tipped off the community that a raid's coming. And Homan's not standing for it. He made it very clear. He said, we think it's coming from the inside. We know the first leak in Aurora, Colorado, it's currently under investigation, and we think we've identified that person. And they're under investigation right now, and we tend to believe it leads towards someone in the FBI. Holy crap. He also says they've opened up a criminal investigation on this. They're going to criminally prosecute the person if they find out for sure they did it. But that's happening as we speak. All right, now, let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about whether or not your state can take action on illegal immigration? But that's a U.S. border. Can we do that? It's federal law. That's what the Democrats say. Republicans, not so much. We're ready to act. So right now, states all over the nation are in session. I've told you that several times over the last few days. The Alabama legislature is currently in session right now, passing laws at the state level. And there are some things right now being considered in Montgomery. And y'all, I've been saying this for years. Thank you, State Senator April Weaver. I actually had this idea when I was still in office, and I couldn't get traction with it, but it's a different time now, and I think she's got it. Right now in Alabama, Senate Bill 77 is in place right now, and Senator April Weaver, who was on the show, last week? Senator April Weaver has got this bill. It would establish a $7.50 international electronic wire transfer plus another 1.5% over any amount over $500. What are we talking about? Do you know how much money? Look this up, if you don't mind. These are called, I forgot what they're called now. Do this. Just Google how much money is wired to Mexico from the United States every year. And there's a name for this. It's not forfeitures. That's in the law.
We've looked this up before.
We did. I know we did, but I want you to look it up again. It's billions. But we're talking about, basically, here's how you pay for the wall, in my opinion.
Remittances. According to recent data, approximately $63 billion is wired to Mexico every year in remittances, whatever he said.
That's just Mexico.
Yeah.
How about?
By the way, that was the 2023 figure, so I don't even know if the 2024 figure is up yet. It could be much higher. See,
find out if you can, like how many, what are the amount of remittances for? Let's pick another one, Venezuela, and see what it comes up. Senate Bill 77 would put a basically a tariff or a surcharge on that. What does that mean? Well, I mean, do the math. If you got a $7.50 charge on every international electronic wire transfer, and then another 1.5% on anything over $500, good Lord, what you got?
Venezuela's $2 to $4 billion.
2 to 4. You just identified $65 billion just between those two countries.
Mm-hmm.
And I read once that something like 20% of Mexico's GDP is based on remittances from the United States. It would be soul crushing to them if this happened.
Venezuela's is 5% of their GDP.
5% of their GDP is money wired from the United States. And so what happens is you got people that flood across our border. They come here, they make money, and they go down to the local Western Union. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and challenge all of y'all. Next time you go out at, and I'll tell you where you often see it, a lot of times locally owned Mexican restaurants, if you see something on the door, it'll have the little symbol that says you can wire money from here to Mexico. And I think it's called Telemex. I'll have to look and see. But the reality is, if you don't notice it, it's like that symbol that you know what to look for if you know it's there.
It's kind of like in the corner.
Yeah, it looks like it's a credit card sign kind of thing. No, it's telling folks, hey, if you come here, you can wire money home. And they'll wire money home for free. They may charge a little something for their service, but the reality is, ain't nobody going to see it because it's just going out the door. And all of a sudden, money in our economy is flooding into the hands of people in other economies. Well, Senate Bill 77 in Alabama says, how about we put a little something tax on that? Have you got your Google sheet still open? Go ahead, see if you can, if there's any way to discern that by state. Just do Alabama, since we're talking about Alabama. How much money is in remittance to Mexico from Alabama? Does that come up? I'm going to bet it's about $1 billion.
I'm seeing a website here. I'm going to have to do some digging if I'll come back when I see if I find something here.
I'm going to do some math during the break.
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure this out. If we got a 1.5% fee on roughly $1 billion, what does that equate to with the state coffers? Woo! We may have something going on here. Look, this is how you fight it, man. It's not just a matter of blowing up tunnels. It's not just a matter of breaking down that, the who's leaking the raids. There's also the breaking down of the immigration industrial complex. And part of that complex is the ability to wire money out of our country just because you can. All right, we're taking a break right now. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. You guys stay tuned. I got more. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Man. Making common sense like a superpower. Brand new texter coming in from Chattanooga. We are glad you are there. Says, regarding that pastor, he also serves on the Chattanooga Regional Planning Commission. Oh, good. And his wife is a principal in a local school. Oh, wonderful. Sounds like a class act and in all the right places to influence people and win friends, right? By the way, tell us who you are. And it says Chattanooga listener. So if you're in Chattanooga itself, tell us. But thanks for texting. Thanks for being part of the show. Jimmy from Del Rose, Tennessee says, I think that pastor sounds like a Farrakhan. I think he does. Bruce from Springville checking in again. He says, how about Tom Homan targets hotel owners and landlords that cater to illegals and with criminal charges? I don't see a problem unless, they're, if they're actually advertising it that way, then sure. But there's other stuff happening. By the way, we did some math. Now I'm rounding in a big way. All right, I'm rounding. JP did some looking online. It appears that we can say that something like, if we round it up, it was almost 1%.
Yeah, it was around 0.8%.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm shocked that it's not more than that. But let's say of the $63 billion you said is going to Mexico alone.
So this graph was from 2018.
I realize, yeah. I think it's going to wind up.
So it's probably a bit higher now.
I look at the mass influx of people, illegals that went to places like New York State, Chicago, Illinois, California, all of it. So maybe we are at 1%. 1% of 63 billion times April Weaver's proposed 1.5% transaction fee. Whew. We're talking about, now I just lost my train of thought. How much is it? It is a lot. I want to say it was $15 million.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Which sounds about right.
Which, by the way, just for fun, you want to guess how much percent California gave to Mexico in remittances?
How much were they of the percent? I'm going to say they were 22%.
28%. Rounded up at 28.93, so 29%.
Billions flowing out of California. Billions. Meanwhile, homeless people in the street. Senate Bill 66, also in Alabama, would require law enforcement agencies to collect fingerprints and DNA from any illegal alien and submit them for testing and cataloging. Senate Bill 53 from State Senator Wes Kitchens of Arab would create the new crime of concealing an illegal alien and human smuggling. State Senate Bill 55 by State Senator Chris Elliott of down in South Alabama would invalidate the use of any driver's license that indicates it was issued to an individual who did not offer proof of lawful presence in the United States when they obtained that license. Well, I'm just telling you, this is the kind of thing states can actually do, and they can. They can actually do that. I won't do that one because I already did. How about this one? Over in Mississippi? Mississippi's Mississippi's putting a bounty on people's heads. Have you heard about this? Mississippi House Bill 1484 has garnered local and national headlines. House Representative Justin Keene he's a Republican from Byhalia, Mississippi. Where's he from? Where's that boy from? Byhalia, Mississippi. Say boy. He says his bill would offer residents of the state of Mississippi $1,000 for information that leads to the arrest of an illegal alien. What? There's a whole new cottage industry about to spring up in Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm about to say. I feel like a lot of people will be jumping on that.
I'm thinking they would be careful with that one. Dog the Bounty Hunter will just live in Mississippi at that point. Why not? Just scooping them up, bringing van loads in, paying off his student loans. Awesome. Tennessee's been busy. Tennessee legislature is in right now, and they got a bill right now that would have a price tag about a $500,000. But what it does is it creates a centralized immigration enforcement division of their state law enforcement agency. In other words, they will have their own ICE division on purpose. Like, these are guys who are dedicated just to dealing with illegal immigrants and illegal immigrant crime in the state of Tennessee. By the way, that's a Chattanooga guy. That's State Senator Todd Gardenhire of Chattanooga. No, hang on, back up. The only guy who voted against it was State Senator Todd Gardenhire of Chattanooga. A Republican, by the way. The lone Republican to vote against the bill. It just got approved, by the way. It went to the governor. They're forming it. The governor's going to appoint someone to be in charge of it. They got a $500,000 budget for it. Governor Bill Lee asked for it. The only guy to vote against it, Chattanooga, your Senator Todd Gardenhire. Interesting. All right, you guys, we're switching gears when we get back. Waste, fraud, and abuse. What about it? We'll talk. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I am talking about this show goes from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about we go from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about we go way down yonder to the prettiest little town on the plains called Auburn. Even big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Did the bump play long? I was over here dealing with trolls on my Twitter feed. It was fun. It was fun.
The old trolls.
Got some trolls.
What are they trolling you for?
How dare I comment on something that a liberal politician did, and then they just jump in.
I feel like the liberal trolls are much more aggressive than the right trolls, from what I see.
They often don't make sense either.
Yeah.
They come at you with like these sideways things. You don't care about people. What? You're a homophobe. Like,
Nazi.
You're a Nazi. You're a racist. Oh, it's to the point of like you beclown yourself once again.
But all they're doing is helping you get noticed out there.
I don't want to brag or anything, but we're out there.
All PR is good PR.
That's right. As long as I spell your name right, it's still good PR. Hey, so we said that last night, didn't we? Hey, by the way, speaking of which, let me remind you guys of something that's happening right now. So this is the last day of what I would call the first dibs look at the new Rightside Media merchandise store. We got a bunch of items on there, and based upon the amount of sales we've had in the last 2 days, we may have to order more. But pretty stoked about this. So the Rightside store is open for business, but what we decided to do is give first dibs to the people that are on our email subscription list. So we have an email list. It's free. We don't do anything. It's not behind a paywall. It's just called the Rightside Report. It goes out every day, and we have thousands of subscribers to it. If you're in the subscription list, you get first look at the merchandise store, and we've been selling a bunch of stuff to people that just are on the list. You can still get on the list if you want to. All you got to do is this number that we use for the phone lines here at the studio, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Just text single word newsletter. You'll get an automatic reply back that tells you how to sign up for the newsletter. And then once you do, you'll also have access to the merchandise store. We're going to go live here in the next couple of days with basically the broader Rightside Ruffian audience. So if you want first dibs at the hats, the t-shirts, the coffee mugs, and, oh, by the way, still my favorite, and I'm reaching over here to grab one. Like, I got some stuff right here because Butters was here and he brought them in. Here's one of the coffee mugs, which is cool. We have another one's got a cork bottom with an engraved Rightside Media logo. There's one. But this thing right here that I'm holding in my hot little hands, the Rightside Media bin shot glass. It's got an embedded .308 round in the side of the glass. Can you see it right there? And then engraved in the glass itself is the Rightside Media logo, and it says Bulletproof Influence. Loving that. Those are on the Rightside merch store. Check them out. All right, that's enough of the shameless plugs. Oh, we just had somebody sign up. Thank you for signing up for the newsletter right there. Let me get a couple of text messages real quick and try to stay current on those. Flip from Priceville. There's other states. There are other states offering bounties. I can't remember where they are. Okay. Thanks, Flip. You find out, let me know. Mike from Florence. When they leave Mississippi, guess where they come? Franklin County and Florence, Alabama. I feel certain. Franklin County, Tennessee, and Florence, Alabama, both in my listening area, and I am certain that's true. Jack from Ardmore says thousands per person, talking about the amounts that we send away. What else have I got? Chris from Priceville. When was the last time confirmation hearings were bipartisan? Or has it always been one-sided? What will it take for it to be bipartisan? Let's see. That would be Biden.
I was about to say, it was pretty bipartisan in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
When Republicans decided to approve.
Oh, yeah. Just, who do you want, Joe? We'll give it all to you.
We don't want to be a nuisance or anything.
And you'll be nice to us one day, too, when we're in charge, won't you?
We'll put transgenders as the HHS secretary, but RFK,
that'd be awesome.
RFK is way too far. We can't go that far.
He's controversial.
Yeah, that is controversial.
He dared to call them out on where they get their money for their campaigns. Dana from Athens says, I've been watching the cash hearings live today on YouTube. Oh, good. Tell me how they're going, Dana. Check in and just tell me.
By the way, I just have to mention too, I saw, the congresswoman is escaping me at the moment, a Democratic one. She posted a video of RFK on Sean Ryan's podcast talking about when he had his heroin addiction and said, oh, heroin's okay, but vaccines are not. And it's like, he's talking about when he was a kid and how he overcame heroin addiction.
Because he didn't want it in his life anymore.
And now you're going to demonize him because he's no longer an addict and 20-something years sober. It's like, that is just absolutely ridiculous to me. That the jabs they're throwing out are so personal, but then they also just don't make any sense at all.
They live in the land of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Brian from Huntsville says liberal trolls live off of everyone that cross their bridges. Conservative trolls assist those who cross their bridges. That's a good point. Yeah. The bridge trolls. You ever heard of those? Again, you shall not pass.
That's the liberals.
The three Billy Goats gruff, the bridge troll. Mike from Florence, Alabama says he meant Franklin County, Alabama. Okay. I think Franklin County, Tennessee. Either way. All right, let me jump into something here. Coming up top of the hour, don't forget, we go to the Grand Council with Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson. But let me just do a little bit of waste, fraud, and abuse. Have we got a sound effect for that? Do we have any kind of sound effect that would fit waste, fraud, and abuse? Just pick one and play it. I don't care what it is. Oh, that was okay. That just felt so feckless. I don't know.
I gotta look into one now. I think all the others. We have a cacistocracy zone though that I didn't even know we had till now.
We do have a Don't play that one. It's real long. All right, waste, fraud, and abuse. So Elon Musk is causing heads to explode around D.C. He is, and he's literally schooling reporters. I mean, what's crazy to me is when they will ask him a question. Okay, here's one. Daily Wire. Elon Musk was in the Oval Office yesterday, freaking people out. Why is Elon in the Oval Office? Well, guess what? The president lets in whoever he wants to let into his Oval Office. How about that? But Elon Musk is being said that he's got no accountability. He's just doing everything he wants to do. Well, remember, he's an advisor, and then the president takes the advice, or not, and does stuff. One reporter noted that the White House said that Musk would identify potential conflicts of interest that he might have. And the reporter asked him, does that mean you are in effect policing yourself? What are the checks and balances in place to ensure there's accountability and transparency? His response, well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X and to the Doge website. Oh, look, they're posting everything. So all of our actions are maximally transparent, he says. In fact, I don't think there's been any organization that's been more transparent than Doge. And then he went on to say, and the kind of things we're doing, I think are very, very simple and basic. These are not individual judgment decisions. These are about having simply sensible checks and balances in the system itself. It's got nothing to do with, say, a contract for some company of mine. In other words, what he says is, numbers don't lie. That's what he's saying. If I go in there and I find that $59 million was spent on a hotel owned by Pakistan to house illegal immigrants using taxpayer dollars, I'm just going to say, hey, Mr. President, did you know? And he's going to go, cancel it. We'll go, okay. And that's it. It's not like he's going in there going, hey, excuse me. Yeah, I own Tesla, and I'd like for all federal vehicles to become electric owned by Tesla, made by Tesla. He's not doing that. If he did, we'd find out. When asked about the billions of dollars his companies have received, Musk said that all of Doge's actions are actually fully public. So if you see anything, you say wait a second, hey, Elon, doesn't that seem like there's a conflict? It's not like people are going to be shy about saying it. They say it immediately. And then he says, and we post it. So what I take note of is this. People who don't want to be found out don't put themselves in the public eye. Does that make sense? People who don't want to be discovered don't hang themselves out there and let the press ask them questions ad nauseum. They don't. People who don't want to be discovered because they have a conflict of interest don't ask people if they want to ask them questions like, do I have a conflict of interest? It's antithetical to common sense. They can't stand it. What they can't stand is that he's actually against the norm. He's being transparent in D.C., and you just don't do that up there. We're investigative reporters. If you give us nothing to investigate, what are we going to do? I don't know. Have to report the news, maybe? But let's talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. USAID got shut down, right? USAID. Wow. Holy smokes. Wow. The slop trough at USAID. That's all it was. Belly on up to the bar, boys. Who wants some money? You got your transgender opera going on over there in Sudan? We'll pay for it. You want to do some kind of, I don't know, green energy deal in the deserts of Saudi Arabia? We'll pay for it. Do you need more tourism dollars in Egypt? Hey, we'll pay for it. Why not? It's been just ungodly, the amount of U.S. dollars that have been used to basically fund liberal progressive ideals around the world with no accountability. But here's another piece you might not know. USAID had 14,000 employees. 14,000 employees. As they were shut down, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, was put in charge. He is now overseeing what is remaining of USAID. He has determined that of the 14,000 employees, only 294 of them are considered to be essential. Why? It's an internal review appeared to have been initiated. I got a piece here from Woke Spy, Dateline, yesterday. Senator Marco Rubio began transferring a few core programs from USAID into the State Department. The move signals the agency may soon be abolished. Donald Trump is expected to replace most of the USAID staff on leave, while the 294 workers that were deemed essential will be directed to remain at their posts. Can you imagine? I mean, what percentage is that? 294 out of 14,000. I mean, you're down in single-digit low percentages. You doing the math? I see you grabbed your yes, thank you very much. Tell me what you got when you got it. Stephen Miller, advisor to Trump, said the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, operated like a financial pipeline for left-wing causes, and it did. It was gross.
That's like 2%.
2% of the employees were deemed essential. Good God. Now, by the way, I'm not looking for anybody to lose their job. I hate it for them. But we can't operate like that. And they're public employees. And you know what? Here's the other thing. Think back. Remember during COVID when everybody got shut down? Did the public sector lose its paycheck? The answer is no. They have not had to feel any of the economic pain that we have felt in the private sector for years. And I hate this for them because there is still honorable service in the government employee. There really is. But we can't have an agency that doles out billions of dollars worldwide with 14,000 employees, of which only 2% of those are deemed to be essential employees. It's got to stop. Waste, fraud, and abuse, y'all. That's where we are. One interesting thing is, I mean, right now I got one article from Town Hall, Doge taking a chainsaw to the education department. Trump admin is being blocked in its freezes, but I think they got that back today, its spending freezes. But here's one that I think is very interesting. Trump is saying that as they're digging into things, they're finding irregularities that may indicate that our $36 trillion in debt is really not that high. Not, I mean, it's still going to be high. It just may not be $36 trillion high. Why? Because 1/5 of the gross of the U.S. federal debt is held in government accounts related to things like Social Security and Medicare. Social Security and Medicare, they're finding now, is filled with fraud. So if you're filled with fraud and you can weed out the fraud, the amount of debt goes down. How crazy is that? It's like finding out that, oh, let's see, we just spent $650 million on people that are dead getting Social Security checks still. That's called waste, fraud, and abuse. You cut it out, you've got less of an impact on the debt into Social Security. How about this? If you find out that Medicare has massive, and it does, massive Medicare fraud, and you're able to cut that out, what does it do? It reduces the debt burden related to Medicare. Suddenly that $36 trillion just went down a little bit. Wouldn't that be a hoot? So waste, fraud, and abuse, it's more than just stopping the flow of cash to liberal causes. It's more than just streamlining government. It could be actually about even reducing what we consider to be our national debt. My gosh.
By the way, I should have played this sound effect.
Ah! How about this? Department of Education. You ready? Here we go. Let's do it as a test run. Department of Education.
Wait, sorry, say it one more time.
Department of Education.
Afuera.
USAID.
Afuera.
FEMA.
Afuera.
How about money to Pakistan-owned hotels?
Afuera.
I'm liking it. Play more of it. All right, Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. We're taking a break. We'll come right back. We're having too much fun. Y'all, this is a target-rich environment for a conservative radio show. I'm just telling you. All right, we're on the break. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just like making common sense like a superpower. All right, so we got a ton of stuff going on right now at Rightside Media. Just so you know, my latest podcast came out today. So we have a variety of things going on here. Rightside Media is the name of the parent company. Rightside Radio, you're listening to right now, is only one of our productions. Rightside Media has not only the radio show daily for 3 hours a day all over the Southeast, but we've also got 5 different video podcasts, and we've got my latest one came out today. One of those 5. So the Right Philosophy, it's called, came out today, and I talk about statesmanship. I talk about what kind of politicians you would love to have. I filmed that right there in my study at my house. Really proud of the production, the way it comes together. And so I would encourage you, check it out. You can go to our website, rightsidemedia.org, click on that and take a look. We got just all kinds of content there, and then the written word, and then the radio show. I mean, Rightside Media, we're a whole thing, man. We're a whole thing. Allison from Madison, Alabama says, with regards to illegal immigration, start with the chicken plants. You're not wrong. Listen, here's a thing for you. In 2011, I think it was, when I was in the freshman class of the legislature, and we had just a really gung-ho attitude about going for the things we said we would do, one of which was an illegal immigration bill at the state level. We were way ahead of our time. We were one of the few states that chose to do this. The liberals challenged it. The protests were vociferous in the state house. It's a good Scrabble word, by the way, vociferous. But all that said and done, we got it passed. A lot of it went to court. Liberal judges began to pick it apart. A bunch of it still exists, though, in state law, the things that we passed in 2011. But we had a number of pieces in there that made it very difficult for people to turn a blind eye, if you will, to the employment of illegal aliens. I am told, it was anecdotal, but so right north of me is Marshall County. Major chicken plants, poultry farms, chicken plants. I am told that one of the biggest chicken plants in Marshall County had like a third of its workforce not show up the next day after we passed the bill. Just didn't show up for work. But one of the mantras we kept hearing from the liberal left was, Americans won't do these jobs. Americans won't do these jobs. We got to have them. We'll not be able to survive. They held a job fair. The line was out the door and down the street, and they filled all the jobs with actual citizens or people who were supposed to be here legally. How about that? All right, coming up next, that was a real short segment. Coming up next, we're coming right back with the Grand Council, Jeff Poor, Dale Jackson, and just little old me. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios, man. We got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international, and oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 3 on Hump Day. We play the camel at the beginning of the show, and then come the 4 o'clock hour, we spend time with two of my brethren in talk radio that have been doing it longer than I have, and we jump into this thing we call the Grand Council, where we ping each other with questions and just see where the chips fall. Sometimes it's a hoot. All right, well, I'm going to call the roll right now from 770 AM, 92.5 FM up yonder in Huntsville, host of the Dale Jackson Show, program director extraordinaire, a guy pretty much runs the station, WVNN. Oh, by the way, he also writes for Yellowhammer, and he has a TV gig. That'd be Dale Jackson. Are you present? You are indeed. Thank you. Stand at ease. And then looking south down towards Mobile, FM Talk 106.5, host of the Jeff Poor Show. Also, oh, by the way, the editor-in-chief of 1819 News and works with Breitbart and Lanyap and who knows who else. Jeff Poor, are you there?
I am present.
War Eagle. Glad you're present.
War Eagle.
Go Gators, go Gators.
War
Yeah.
Dam.
Hey, by the way, Jeff, were you actually at the Super Bowl?
Yes, I went to the Super Bowl.
I saw a picture and I thought either A, he just ripped that right off of some stock photo somewhere, or he's there right now. So I have.
Nope, I went to the Super Bowl. It was, it was the Super Bowl. I wish I could say it was the most fantastic experience ever, but it was just the Super Bowl.
So I got to ask before we even get into the actual Grand Council, just give me the quick version. Was the halftime show better in person than it was on TV? I say that as an old guy.
It's totally made for TV. You couldn't really tell what was going on. So the camera angles just start there. You're looking at the whole field, and there's like 4 or 5 different stages, and that some of it you can make out, and you cannot make out a word of what Kendrick Lamar was saying. Probably
But you couldn't do that at home either.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Apparently, so it was like, I don't know. The Super Bowl is made for television, and I mean, the people who go are the diehard fans of both teams, and then the super elite in this country.
Okay, so then I tell you what,
Whoa, look at humble brag.
super elite. He was there, I guess. I think Jeff Port has labeled himself as super elite.
Well, no, because the way you get Super Bowl tickets is you work for like Procter & Gamble, and you're their top earning executive or whatever, or you work in corporate America, and your prize is like 2 Super Bowl tickets. That's what the Super Bowl really is for. And then the stars are there, but I'm up there. I'm like sitting with the Eagles season ticket holders. That's where my seats were.
So you got your tickets on your own using your merits and your own pocketbook, but you're saying that you didn't get them like by sucking up to somebody and writing a happy story about them.
No, my father-in-law bought them, so I wasn't. I don't think there's enough happy stories in Alabama to get Super Bowl tickets.
Well, fair enough. All right, let's jump on in here. Dale Jackson, take the first real question. What do you got?
Why didn't Jeff invite me to go to the Super Bowl? That's the real hard-hitting question.
Why didn't Jeff invite both of us to go to the Super Bowl?
I know. What in the world? That aside, is there anyone in the legislature that will actually serve out the rest of their term? I mean, we're just quitting and walking away and just being like, I don't want to do this. I'll go be the head of the BCA. I don't want to do this. I'm going to go work for the Senate Pro Tem. I don't want to do this. I mean, what are we doing? Why are you running for office if you don't want to serve out your terms? What's happening?
Did somebody quit today and I don't know about it yet? What happened?
Randall Shedd. Going to work for Garland Gudger.
Stop it. I did not. Randall Shedd?
You're on the text thread.
Randall
What
Shedd.
are you talking about?
Dude, I'm on a show right now. I'm busy.
Oh, this happened around lunch there, Senator. But no, Randall Shedd's going to work for Garland Gudger as a staffer. And, I mean, he's been in the legislature forever.
Yeah, he has.
And he was the whip. And he's given it up to go be a staffer for the Senate.
Why?
You know, I mean, on the one hand, you can say, okay, I get the point. You're tired of the rigmarole, but you've also made a lot of relationships, and you got a chance for a good gig, and so you take it. But on the other hand, at the very least, we shut down the revolving door a few years ago when I was in. We literally said, stop it.
Did you? Did you do it? Did you shut it down? Because it doesn't sound like you did.
No, we shut down not jobs, we shut down the lobbying revolving door. So you can't come back and lobby your former, you can't come back and lobby the legislature, period. We had guys that were quitting and the next day they'd come back and be lobbyists. It was gross.
Like the head of the
Well,
BCA?
didn't they? Now, Senator, if I'm remembering this right, when Tuggle went to go work for McCutcheon, didn't they have to make an exception? Did the legislature have to carve something out for that to happen?
I don't recall a Tuggle exception. No, I don't know that one. If there was, I'm not aware of
Did
it.
you just go from the law? I mean, but you had to go from being in the legislature to go in working for the legislature.
But you weren't
There was
lobbying.
some
He was
kind of-
working. He was working in the legislature as opposed to working. I mean, I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying that's probably not a lobbying gig. That means it had a clear definition in the law. You couldn't go out there and be a contract lobbyist or
Right.
a governmental affairs staffer for another agency. But he was working in
But
the
how
legislature.
did Clay
So
Schofield? How did Clay Schofield get away with it?
he's not over there lobbying. That's the thing. He can't. He's not allowed to walk across the street and say, "Hey, about that bill." I'm just telling you.
Do you think that's going? Do we believe that?
I'm just telling you.
Going on?
It sounds so stupid, and I know Phil Williams does not believe that thing he just said.
No,
I love it.
listen. I'm just telling you. If Clay walks over and goes, "Hey, I'm Clay Schofield. I'm here in the hallway. I want to meet with Senator so and so and tell him to
everyone
vote for
goes,
the bill," he's in big
you.
trouble. You know what I'm saying. And does he? Am I saying that he's not at a BCA conference and they talk about their legislative agenda? No, but what I'm saying is he's not over there in the State House lobbying for a bill. That's the, and I hate to say it, but it's semantics, and that's what's going to happen. But if somebody has a problem with it,
is like,
write
what
the
can
ethics
you do
commission.
about this? I don't think you can do anything about this. I mean, again, Clay Schofield's a really good guy.
He is a good
and
guy.
I'm sure he's operating in good faith, and you know, we're talking about it. But good Lord, if you didn't want to be charitable, you absolutely could look at this and be like, this is messed up.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just acknowledge it. We're adults here. I mean, nothing against Clay Schofield, but that's just weird, right?
What's the guy's name that went to work the next day for the lobbyists for that? And I'm not going to name their names now that I said it out loud. I was about to name their names, but I won't. That worked for the Porch Creeks, and I can't think of their names right now. But he literally was a House member. He got elected, and 2 months after he got elected, he quit to become a lobbyist, and he walked in the door the next day and started lobbying for bills. And he's the reason why we passed the
It's like
bill.
before my time. There,
It was in Mobile.
Yeah,
he was in your
I-
area. Golly,
Like I
Barton.
said,
It was
I
Barton.
in DC or something.
It was Barton. That's
Oh,
who it
really? Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that. I remember him.
Next question, Jeff. What do you got?
Since we're at a Huntsville program, I just walked out of a committee hearing. I am in the State House, by the way. I walked out of a committee hearing about the drag show ban for minors, and the most vociferous opponent of the ban is Marilyn Lands of Madison.
Oh God.
Is there any way that she gets reelected? What are the people in Madison smoking to have elected a radical leftist like that?
Smoking something good that's not legal. I don't know. I mean, I look at
No.
that. Go
Here's
ahead,
what
Jeff.
happened.
Go ahead, Dale. Tell us.
Here's what happened. It was a special election. There would have been some shenanigans before that with the House seat, with the Republicans. The activists were extremely ginned up because of abortion. She basically said, "Hi, I'm Marilyn Abortion Lands Abortion. I want abortion to represent you. Abortion. It would be nice, abortion, if you sent me abortion to Montgomery, abortion." And that worked on a very small group of people and a very small turnout. I think that changes next go round.
It's got to change next go round. Otherwise, we're going to realize that Madison County.
I mean, just
went
run a
purple.
record back, right?
I mean, Madison County purple or not? That's what we're going to find out.
Yes, I think it is.
I think it's getting purple.
Yeah,
Is it purple yet? We'll
It
see.
may be purple, but there's no reason
it's
a
purplish
radical
red.
left-wing.
Do what?
Right. Well, it may be purple, but it's just crazy to me that I guess it was abortion that got her there. But there's no way she gets reelected, right?
I would hope not. I'll be speaking against it. How about that?
She's insane.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what was said, done, or expounded upon? What did she literally say that we can laugh about right now about drag queens?
So
Drag queens have rights
Statagan
too.
was
What you do?
Essentially, Statagan said that there were, grown men dressing up in front of children and reading them stories. And then she went on this thing about, well, that's him playing Mother Goose. And it turned out that wasn't really true. But the justification in her mind was it's okay for a grown man to dress up as a mother and goose and read to children, which I find just absolutely insane.
Well,
I mean, like, do the people of Madison not think that's crazy? I think they would, right?
listen, the people of Madison do, because that's where Moms for Liberty in the state started. That's what kicked them off and really got them going was a library reading by Kirk Cameron, who, by the way, is going to be on my show Thursday, and then just basically putting the Drag Queen Story Hour in its place, and that was in Madison. So yes, I think that Lands is in trouble. It better be in trouble.
I hope so. I'm stunned that she would go down that avenue.
Let me put it this way: if Lands is not in trouble, then Madison's in trouble. How about that?
I agree with that. And if drag queens could get abortions, her head would explode.
All right, one quick question. God, do I have time for this? Jeez, Pete. You know what? Let me ask you this. I'm going to do a quick question. Immigration raids in Alabama yesterday. Lee County, Baldwin County. What county's next? What county in Alabama would you predict is next on the list for an immigration raid? Name it, Dale Jackson.
Marshall.
Marshall? I agree. That's my pick. What do you think there, Jeff Rowe?
I'll say Limestone.
Oh, well, you know what? That was my second choice because I'm hearing a lot about that area. But yeah, I think Marshall County's next.
Target-rich environment right
it's
there.
It's a target-rich environment. And stand by. I think 18, 19. Yeah, you got one of your guys lives up that way, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure you have somebody that does road reporting up there. Is it Daniel?
One of our editors lives in Marshall County. Yeah, Daniel Taylor.
Yep, that's it. All right, Marshall County, stand by. We've now predicted you're next on the list for immigration raids, and well earned. All right, we're taking a break. That's round one of the Grand Council. That was lively. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we're doing. All right, I'm back with round 2 of the Grand Council with Dale Jackson and Jeff Poor. By the way, I have been chastised by one of my listeners because I forgot to have JP play the sound effect, which I'm now blaming on JP. So there's that.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege here, and I'm going to switch up the order, and I'm going to ask the next question.
Unbelievable.
It's my way, man. Just
The
stand by.
oligarchy all over again.
I don't want to brag. Get in the front lane and rest while we talk. All right, so the Joe Lavorne from down yonder in Lee County, state representative, has a bill right now to make NIL money in college athletics tax exempt. What in the actual heck? I mean, okay, I got feelings, I got thoughts, I got passions about this, but I'm going to hear what y'all have to say. NIL money tax exempt. Jeff Poor, tell me what you see. You're in the State House.
I think it's a great idea. Number one, it makes Alabama and Auburn more competitive, but how can you be against any tax cuts, Senator?
Ooh.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to go there.
Why are you pro-tax? Like, why do you think that? I mean, like, you know, this may be very targeted.
That's what I always do.
See, and that's fair, and that's where I knew we'd go. So here's the thing. Let me ask you this: thank you for walking right into my spider web. So if they're gonna say they don't have enough money right now to maintain to grow the grocery tax cut or to maintain the overtime tax cut, how can they possibly do the NIL? Those people are making money like everybody else. Why are they exempting one and not the others? Aha! We've just created disparate treatment. We're making college athletes
What are you, class warfare or socialist now? Why are you?
I'm saying I'm saying, man, look, it's equality,
But
not
fairness
equity.
sounds like such a socialist trope.
So you like this,
Fair.
huh?
It's not fair. I mean, come on, man.
No, so you like this, huh? You like the idea of tax exempting a whole section of income.
I'm all for it.
Okay.
I'm all for it. It makes my school teams more competitive.
And there you
I don't
go.
think the government needs any more money.
You saw
And
what
that's
Florida
what
did
it
to
was. It was the guy from Auburn running the bill, and you're
think the
hoping you can buy more players.
Why do you think the government just needs more money? Well, we're
No,
not
I
going to give them our
don't.
tax cut. Well,
that's
not true. It's
I'm
just a drop
saying
in the
let's
bucket.
get some tax cuts across the board, brother. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You want to cut that, then you cut income tax or sales tax or that matter, any kind of all across the board.
Senator, I
Yes,
think
sir.
you have to be realistic here for a second.
Pray tell, what am I not being realistic about?
Because the amount of money we're talking about when it comes to this NIL deal is minuscule in the grand scheme of
Have
things.
you seen the money in NIL?
It's in the grand scheme of things when we're talking about food taxes and stuff like this. I'm with you. Cut the food tax even further. Whatever. I agree with you. But to compare the revenue from both of those things that the state would realize is like comparing my radio audience and your radio audience. It's just not fair.
So basically what you said is my audience is blowing yours away and you want some kind of leverage now. Is that what you're telling me?
Sure, read it that way.
I've seen the Nielsen's. Go right ahead. All right, next question. What do you got, Dale?
Okay, Pam Bondi apparently has announced charges have been filed against the state of New York Governor Kathleen Hochul and Letitia James, the AG there, for failing to enforce immigration law. This is crazy, but you're the legal mind. Does this stick?
Potentially, yes. So I hate to give the law school answer, but it depends. So are they openly and knowingly violating the law? The answer is probably going to be yes. Do they have substantive immunity for their position? Do they have a state law that gives them leverage that it depends on how they bring it. But she's the attorney general, and I'm going to tell you, I don't think she's going to rush out there and sling this if she doesn't have some measure of credibility to it. So there.
I'll tell you what. I mean, even if there's no validity to the charges, as we've seen in the past, it's lawfare. It's going to make their lives a little more difficult, right? I mean, defending yourself against the federal government is not an easy thing to perform, and now they're getting a dose of their own medicine.
How does the media handle it?
The media's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, the media doesn't know what to do right now.
The media doesn't matter right now. The people who watch that stuff.
I understand that. My point is, are they going to actually come out and be like, "Oh, I can't believe they're doing this"? By the way, they should go after Donald Trump for 75 more charges.
The media is still mad that they lost their seat to a bunch of podcasters in the press room and in the Pentagon. So next thing you know, 1819 is going to have its own seat in the White House press room. It's going to be great.
You guys could get it if you wanted it. You know that, right?
They get tickets to the Super Bowl, is what I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Way
We got 30 seconds. Jeff, you got a quick question?
Veterans, year two or veterans, should the Veterans Affairs Department be under the governor?
Not entirely. I don't think they should ever make the board just a matter, just a rubber stamp group that I can see where they might have a confirmation process for the appointee herself, but the reality is that board does not need to be tampered with. It needs to have some measure of authority. Otherwise, it's just sitting around there, making good ideas. Jeff, Dale, anything quick?
To quote the great Phil Williams, it depends.
All right, I love you both in spite of yourselves. That's Dale Jackson, Jeff Poore, and just little old me. We call it the Grand Council. Back here every Wednesday. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you right side ruffians out there, you are listening to Right Side Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. I'm talking about, y'all, this show goes from like Huntsville back to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back to Gadsden. I'm talking about that prettiest little town on the plains down yonder in Auburn. I mean, there's even big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. By the way, that was the Grand Council, right? The Grand Council was myself and Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson. And every single week now, the Grand Council is brought to you by DeKalb MD Healthcare. DeKalb MD Healthcare. Y'all, this is so cool. DeKalb MD Healthcare is a direct primary care with a network of clinics located in Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. Operates on a monthly membership, not insurance. I mean, think about this. You pay a $75 a month fee and you get concierge benefits with quality individualized care. Y'all, $75 a monthly membership. You get same day, next day scheduling with no wait time, longer visits with your provider. You even get after hours access, no additional cost, a direct phone number to call or text your provider anytime. $1,000 of medications can be mailed directly to you. Y'all, this is incredible. Look, DeKalb MD, just basically it's concierge medical benefits, one-time fee, and you're in. And you got your generalized medical care taken care of. DeKalb MD, they work with you instead of your insurance. And I'm telling you right now, you visit their website and check them out. 2 locations in Chattanooga, www.decabmd.com. Check them out, schedule an appointment. That's decabmd.com. Sponsor of the Grand Council every week, and we're glad of it. All right, I got to take some text messages. You guys are texting machines. Brian from Huntsville says, no taxes on NIL? That's BS. The kids are in college to learn. Anyone on NIL needs to give up their scholarship and pay for college and taxes. Good luck with that. I.e., he says they can learn taxes and responsibilities. Paul from Athens says radio news still uses woke language. I can't help you there. I have no control over it. If they're playing radio news during the break and it says woke things, just know that's not me. Mike from Rogersville says, I appreciate that you read our text. Great show. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was the one that caught you. No trumpet.
Oh, yeah. Be back. We forgot. You know what? I almost feel, well, no, we're not going to backtrack and play it now.
No, because it's not the Grand Council.
It's not the Grand Council.
We're not assembling the Grand Council.
We're not assembling the quorum.
Right.
That's right. We don't have a quorum now. Mm-hmm. We've already dismissed for the day. Stephen from Athens says, Phil, you know Marilyn Lands is a Grissom graduate? I did not know this. He said, I know her. She's certifiable. Trust me, please. Stephen, tell me what class of Grissom she is. What year, if you know, by any chance. Great show, he says, especially the Grand Council. KB from Hartselle says, Colonel Phil, you've been pretty outspoken about government workers who work from home, but don't you record your podcast from your home office? A little bit different. It's called a setting. You choose a setting, and it was chosen specifically to provide a special setting for that. But no, I actually come in every single day. So I am here 5, sometimes 6 days a week. And if I do something at home, it's only because I couldn't finish it during the day at the office.
Well, there was somebody who was just on the show that...
Shh, don't say it. Actually, both of them.
Yeah.
Nope. We pipe our radio show into you from an actual studio in a brick and mortar building. By the way, it's a beautiful studio. Just saying.
It is. The beautiful view when it's not pouring down rain like right now.
Out the golf course.
Yep.
In the spring. I'm going to have to tell you, no, you can't leave in the middle of the show. I don't care who's out there teeing off. Mike from Florence, Alabama says, I keep hearing Dale advertising a pest control company but the first time I heard it, all the pests left when they heard Dale raise his voice. Says good for pest control. Not so good for pest control business. Nice. What do we got here? Brian from Decatur says, pertaining to the recent intentional violation by FEMA payments to the hotel in New York City, circumventing Trump's executive order, is there not any criminal penalties that can be brought upon those individuals beyond termination? To me, that's exactly the same as breaking a federal law, and the answer is potentially yes. And I think they're actually looking at that right now. They are looking at criminal penalties for those who choose to flaunt the executive orders which govern their workplace. And if they then issue tax dollars where they were not supposed to, they have potentially jumped over into the realm of federal crime. We'll wait and see. But right now, she lost her job, so there's that. Sam from Priceville sends me a meme. What do you got here? It says the biggest Super Bowl in history going on in D.C. right now. It's the Patriots versus the Steelers, as in Steal, Steelers. Nice. Well played, sir. Scott from Russellville. I can vouch for the statement about Franklin County. There was some kind of rally or protest in Russellville last Saturday. Yeah, I've heard that. Listen, I don't know who's going to be the next in the state to wind up seeing an immigration raid, but we got a few in both Tennessee and in Alabama. You can just bank on it. Gary from Decatur says, I think there's a difference between a federal entity and a commercial business. Well, that'd be true.
I think he's talking about the work at home thing. The guy that was poking fun of you. Yeah.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate you. No, he's right. And Stephen from Athens just checked back in about Marilyn Lance. She was class of 76. Okay. So she was there 7 years ahead of me. I know a few people in that class. That's close to your dad's class.
I was going to say, I think my dad was around there at that time.
I think he was class of 77 or 8, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask him if he had any run-ins with the certifiable quote that somebody else
I'd
said
like to know. We got a brand new texter from Chattanooga. Karen from Chattanooga, we're glad you're in the text line with us. Thanks for joining, and we appreciate you being a part of the show. You are officially now a Tennessee Rightside Ruffian. Ruminating Rocker from Flint Creek says, apples and oranges, you're not paid by the taxpayers. Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much. And Steve from Athens also said he graduated from Grissom in 77. Go Tigers. Just saying, old school Grissom. We were OG Grissom. We were back in the day. We had no windows. We walked. First time I went to Grissom High School, by the way. Oh, go ahead. What you got?
Well, I was going to say, I didn't go to Grissom. I was zoned for Grissom, but if I were to go to Grissom, my class was the first class in the new building, the brand spanking new one.
Which is a Taj Mahal.
Yeah, it's massive.
It is par excellence, man. They spared no expense. It's a world-class facility. Mm. So my Grissom, first time I went to... you get lost in there. Mm. It was if anybody of y'all went to the old Grissom, you know what I'm talking about. If you walk in the very first time, it's round. There are no windows.
Looks like a jail.
It looks like a jail. There are no windows. I don't know who thought that was a great idea, but there's no windows. So in other words, you had no frame of reference. Oh, I'm at the front of the school. Oh, I'm at the back of the school. You can't look out the window and say, oh, what am I doing looking at the parking lot? I need to be on the other side. I couldn't find the cafeteria the first day. I was so lost. And then there's these little spokes of the wheel they call pods. So you go to like the senior English pod or the math pod or the language pod. And in that pod, it was like you'd walked into a common area and all the classrooms shot off the pod. And so you would walk in and there'd be like 4 classrooms inside the pod. And it was maddening. And so my best friend, George, if you're listening, my best friend, the very first day I met him, I had to ask him, how do I find the so-and-so? I don't know where it is. And he looked at me like I was crazy because he'd already been there before. I didn't come into my sophomore year, though. I was overseas. Yeah. But it was that. Now, by the time I ran that place by the time I left, I mean, I knew every nook and cranny. But when I first got there, whoever laid that thing out was like spiteful.
I mean, I took my ACT in the new Grissom. That's massive, and I had trouble finding where I needed to go for because I went to private school. I was not used to like you said, the Taj Mahal of trying to navigate. The big schools are a maze.
I also came from, now this is kind of crazy, me saying that it was kind of, I came from a school that was a campus. I went to why are we rambling on this right now?
I don't know.
Anyway, this is fun. How about this? I'm chasing a rabbit. So I came from London Central High School in London, England on an Air Force base, which had a school building, and then they had grown to the point that they had lots of other buildings on the small base. So it was like I would literally have 15 minutes between classes because it took that long to walk to the next class. And sometimes you're putting on your winter gear and you're having to trudge, and class is, you're literally 10 minutes from class. And you talk about a good way to get in trouble too. There's a lot of things you can do in the 15 minutes between every class, but it was kind of a crazy environment. But there were literally only 600 students, K through 12, in my school overseas. And then I came to Grissom High School where we had almost that many in my class alone.
Yeah.
I graduated with 560 people in the class of 83.
Wow.
And being a W, I was number 549.
Well, my class set the record at my school with 112.
Let me clarify. I was 549 in alphabetical order. All right. Jeff from Indiana says, I started off at Hoosier Heights Wildcat, ended up being a Tell City Marksman, 1980. Thank you, Jeff Rowe. All right, listen, we're gonna come back here in just a minute and wrap the day. But I got to tell you, there's any number of things happening right now that are just blindingly obvious. I'm looking at things. I didn't get to this dipper today, and I'll get to it tomorrow. But I'll get this dipper today about the woke wars. I will say this: the left is on its heels right now. They don't know what to do. And if you heard that a minute ago when I was talking with Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson on the Grand Council, one of the questions was, what's the press going to do when it's technically lawfare in a sense, not really, but going after Pam Bondi, going after the governor of New York? And is the press going to go, well, we thought that was a great idea the last 4 years. Are we going to think it's a great idea when it's a Democrat? That kind of thing is happening everywhere in D.C. They don't know what to do. Because you can't deny the common sense of trying to save money. You can't deny the common sense of trying to help people. You can't deny the common sense of trying to say, stop the waste, fraud, and abuse. And yet, that's all the Democrats can do right now. They're screaming because they want the waste, fraud, and abuse to come back. Y'all, it's madness. And it's right now, the battle going on is the woke wars, is what I'm calling it. It's actually fun to watch as the Democrats self-own themselves every single day right now. They are literally lost as a bunch of coots. They wake up in the morning thinking, how can I get Trump? And they don't realize he's already gotten them while they were sleeping. Like he's playing chess while they're playing checkers. And every day is like that. Like, for instance, yesterday I spent a lot of time talking about military stuff, and one of the pieces of it was the renaming of Fort Bragg back to Fort Bragg. Well, waiting for liberals to heads explode because they named it after a racist. Oh, wait, they did what? No, they didn't. They named it after another Bragg who was a hero in World War II. Well, how do you protest? See, that's the kind of thing that's happening right now. The woke wars are owning the libs, and they are so on their heels. What do you got? You're about to say something.
I know I said that yesterday, but I think that's just genius. To name it,
was it not
a different Bragg that was also a World War II hero? It's like that's checkmate. You can't do anything about that.
Try to argue with that, please.
That's like the Gulf of America. It's like all the people who are against it. It's like, whoever's going to come back, a Democrat president, God forbid, there's one again soon. If they try to change it back to the Gulf of Mexico, it's like, oh, so you hate America? Oh, I see.
Once again, self-owned.
Yeah.
Try and deal with that. All right, listen, we got plenty more where that came from. We'll come right back. Last break of the day here on Hump Day. We're going to get you all the way to Friday, like I said. But in the meantime, let's take a break. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Shout out to my best bud, George, who did hear that on the show a moment ago. So, I got to say, too, his family became dear to me. And I'm not backpedaling on the air because I said that about a minute ago. It's a running joke with us, but his mom became like my mom in high school. Just anyway. All right. Going to get me all mushy. Jeff from Indiana's on the phone. Let me go to see Jeffro. Jeffro, are you driving in the rain, brother?
It's still good weather for a duck here in Nashville.
Oh,
and
my.
they're driving like a bunch of ducks.
You floating home.
Tucked under their yeah.
Put out the
Everything's
pontoons
moving.
and make some
Haven't seen my
time.
crash out yet. Yeah.
Well, just be careful. Where are you right now on the road?
I'm coming past the split on the north end of Nashville, 65.
Well, at least you're north end. That's good. Sometimes you're calling us telling us you're halfway to Nashville.
Yeah, I wish I was halfway to home. That would be a lot better, though.
Well, what do you think, man? What do you think about the stuff we talked about today? I've covered the border battles. I've covered a little bit of waste, fraud, and abuse. And then we had some grand council time. What do you think?
You know, I think what we need to do in the White House press room.
Yeah.
We need to upgrade this thing so that it's almost AI, compatible to everything, where she can just call up, when these reporters ask you stupid questions and everything, they can just bring up, when they trash Trump and everything and play it back to them on their own network, where they're screaming and shouting and telling that he's a, this, that, and everything else, and say, is this, throw it back in their face and everything, and say, here's what we're being treated like, is this correct? And is this what your people think of us, and everything? And this is why you're a failing network.
Do you see what he did to Huffington Post? We were talking about that yesterday. Huffington Post tried to ask him a question. He looked at him and said, "Who are you with?" Huffington Post. Huffington Post, are they still alive? I thought that was a dead outlet. You guys are horrible. He went to the next person.
And he treats them like he should. That's for sure. They
Well,
can't
you
get
know
much
what?
over on him.
He treats them like they treated him for 4 years. How about that?
Yeah.
Really for 8 years.
But yeah, but there just needs to be an audio video up there where they can show how much these people are lying against everything, and see what they're saying about something, and then show them that the actual clip of what happened and everything. Say, how come you reported it this way when this is the truth?
Now, he does do that.
liars?
I've seen him do that, but I wonder if Catherine Levitt, his new press secretary, could actually get up there with the board and say, okay, while we're all in the room together, the other day, Politico, you said this and that was wrong. Here's why. The other day, New York Times, you said this and that was wrong. Here's why. I could see her putting it up on a whiteboard and just like calling them out right there. She actually did that the other day, as a matter of fact, to somebody. She said, one of the folks who's in the room right now said, so I think she ought to do that more often.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you need to show how big of idiots these people are. Then maybe that'll eventually get shut up and and actually start reporting the news for a change.
Well, we're never going to get the bias out. I mean, there's going to be outlets like I make no bones about it. Rightside Media here, we are a conservative media content generator, but we don't pretend to be anything else but that. So, I'll call balls and strikes. If Republicans screw up, I'll call them out. But I lean towards conservative positions and I make it known. What galls me though is when like the New York Times calls itself a objective news reporting, and they're literally scalding people for having conservative positions.
Yeah, at least like I say, you can't deny what you are because it's in the name of the company.
It's Rightside Media. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, listen, I got to go. I got to get a few more text messages and call it done. But you be safe on the road, all right?
Have a good one, Phil.
See you,
Welcome
buddy.
home.
All right. Take care. A couple of quick text messages. John from Elkmont, he says, I think it's a mistake to spend our resources to target the, quote, working illegals this early. We should be concentrating on the recent violators who are sitting on their butts collecting taxpayer money. John, I think we're doing that. In fact, they've actually said they're working to deal with the criminal illegals. In other words, the ones who are committing crimes while they're here. So that's the primary focus. But here's the thing. If a sanctuary city is putting people in the position of being set free, then ICE has no choice but to go do roundups. And then they scoop up whoever's there. And once ICE finds out there's somebody there illegally, they have no choice but to do something about it. So if sanctuary cities want to help out, they can actually keep a criminal in jail and let ICE come get them from the jail, and then they won't have to be scooping people up off the streets. Brand spanking new in the text line, Owen from Huntsville. We're glad you're here, Owen. He says Grissom High School was designed around one of those great educational concepts that was dreamed up in California. He said, I'm old enough to remember when Butler High School was at Clinton and the Governor's Drive. Oh, man, absolutely. That's old school right there. And the grades from John from Huntsville, Dale Jackson, Jeff Power both get an F for their absolutely dreadful performances. JP, an F. I've never seen an F. JP gets a solid A for his solid performance, even though he got a 10-point deduction for not playing the Grand Council sound effect. Means the winner is without a doubt the magnificent Phil Williams. Thank you so much. With a perfect A triple plus and his sensational math skills and having way more listeners than Dale Jackson. Congratulations. All right, and by the way, Rightside Radio and Off the Bench are the only two radio shows he listens to. Thank you much, John.
Appreciate it.
We love you. You're a ruffian. Hey, y'all, there's more of us than there are them. God is still on his throne. Y'all stay in the fight. We'll see you